Oh wow. So your console just has a picture of like this fella. He's called the Mushroom Butcher.
Oh.
Yeah, they're not.
Meat alternatives. Like steak and that, no?
He just makes mushrooms, yeah.
Yeah.
But
No, like...
he does pop-ups every now and again, so you go up. They're on Saturdays and Sundays. Must keep an eye out for that. But look at this one. It's a pink oyster mushroom.
Oh, wow.
Aren't they gorge? But he does lion's manes and stuff. Oh wow.
What?
A fella I follow from England follows him and likes his stuff. Oh, that looks dead tasty.
And stick a weight on top of it. I use just a little pan and push it out until all the liquid comes out. Flip a couple more times and push out all the liquid.
Oh.
A delicious steak like so. I marinate mine in a Korean barbecue sauce from...
Are you filming?
Yeah.
Oh, sorry. I'll show you after. Korean barbecue sauce.
So 12 Angry Men, take one.
Welcome to our channel. I say our channel, it's not even mine.
This is being a
Are you going to
divorce.
start promoting this
What do you
on
mean?
your socials?
No, you're not
Okay.
supposed to.
Oh. Just let it organically grow.
Build your YouTube audience on YouTube.
Ah.
Because, like, to get someone to go from Facebook to YouTube is a big jump. And also, Facebook don't want you to leave their app.
Hence why Instagram has reels and all that sort
Exactly,
of stuff.
they'd rather
yeah.
you. So I'm just trying to let it develop there.
Stunning.
Now, when I do the variety show.
Oh yay.
Yeah.
And then hopefully you'll lead people on to...
But exactly, so what you do is, with all these reviews, it's bingeable content. So I have a playlist with all the reviews. So the hope is someone watches one, I like that. Oh, there's the next one. There's the next one. And there's boom, 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 boom. And you see it happen sometimes. People watch like 3 reviews in a row.
Ah, nice.
Yeah, because I can do the first step of the YouTube partner program. I've qualified for that, but you don't get paid for that yet. But you can have like a button where people can donate money.
I never said.
It hasn't come true yet because the creator studio is like 4 days behind, but it will.
Nice.
And I think maybe tomorrow or that it could be up on that, and then I think I need like 900 hours to get to. Oh, I still need to get all the subscribers up. I need 213 subscribers.
Okay.
Before December.
Do you think you can do it?
Yeah.
Nice. Leave that in. People can know what to do.
Yeah. So that's why I keep telling you to like, comment, share, subscribe.
Yeah.
We're nearly there.
Gorge. So 12 Angry Men.
12 Angry Men. Or as I like to call it, the Maryborough soccer team.
So we were sitting here yesterday, a little background. You're sitting here yesterday and Louis had a sore neck and I had a sore leg and we were like, oh, we'll just put on a film, sit and chill. And the reason we picked that film was we were going through a list of IMDb films.
Yeah.
Mm.
The top 100 IMDb.
Yeah, it was listed. The top 100 was listed. Or should I go?
No.
And we were flicking through, so we were like looking at all, and Louis is obviously big into the films, and I'm somewhat getting there. So we were just talking through what films we had seen in the list, row by row, and we both landed. So there was like loads of the ones I hadn't seen. Louis seen probably nearly all of them. But the first one we came across that the two of us hadn't seen was 12 Angry Men. Now I'd heard of it.
Yeah.
And you'd heard of it.
Yeah, but I thought it was the David Fincher. I think it's David Fincher. It's like the Army of the 12 Monkeys. I just got mixed up in my brain.
But then for some reason as well, 12 Angry Men, I thought George Clooney was in it.
Ocean's 11.
No. I feel like there's something else. We'll look into it in a minute. And I was like, oh, like, and I know the film. I was like, maybe it's an old one, maybe it's a remake. I don't know. 12 Angry Men.
Oh, they remade it.
I don't know.
Why
I just felt like George Clooney was in it. For some reason. Oh no, I'm just wrong. It was just happened. Also not in that one. There's a 7 Angry Men. Anyway, so we were like, oh, we'll be humming and hawing. We were like, no, we'll go watch it, because I think it was like I'm trying to watch a lot more films I've never seen before, and it's always good to see like what the top 100 films are. And we were like, yeah, we'll watch that. So I didn't really know what it was about, and we got a brief synopsis of what it was about. I think we looked it up, or we looked at the like little description. And I have to say, so pleasantly surprised.
Really, were you not expecting?
I don't know, like, so sometimes when it's like something's really highly reviewed, you're kind of like, oh, I don't know.
The nostalgia factor of people are like, it's better because it's old.
Yeah, it's in black and white. What film was it? A year was it?
57.
57. So then sometimes I'm like, oh, do you know, like when you watch films as well, you're kind of like, especially older films, sometimes you're kind of like, you can't really say that anymore, or like there's just bits that you're kind of like, oh, like that's like to be very of their time as well, like, do you know, it's not people's fault that was the opinions back then, but yeah, we start with
plot in 60 seconds.
Plot in 60 seconds.
Will I do this one?
It's up to you.
Or you did the last one?
Okay.
Do you want to...
I'll put 60 seconds on my watch because I would count and I won't keep up. Clock. Stopwatch. Nope.
This is actually easy.
Yeah, really easy. I keep doing that. When I say 60 seconds, I look at my watch, at my phone, I'm like, oh, I can't put like the minutes in. I forget 60 seconds is a minute. My brain doesn't comprehend that seconds a minute.
Numbers wouldn't be your strong point.
No, they won't be at all. Right. 12 Angry Men.
12 Angry Seconds.
Plot in 60 seconds, starting now.
So, the judge is delivering his final assessment of a court case where a young boy is accused of murdering his father in cold blood. Now the jury have to retire to come to their verdict, and the judge basically tells them that he can only be declared guilty if it's beyond any reasonable doubt that he killed his father, and if you come with a guilty verdict, they will not accept any plea from the jury for leniency. They will be sent to the electric chair. So the 12 Angry Men retire to the room, and it's how long have we got?
12 seconds.
It's just a very interesting discussion of how they come to their verdict.
Good. Nice. Yeah. Cool.
And I thought technically, like I remember in work, I was chatting with my boss, and I said I was applying for a film grant to make a movie, and he said the best movie for a debut is Reservoir Dogs.
Okay.
He said, shoestring budget, all it is a warehouse.
Okay.
And then it's just all the drama that ensues.
Yeah.
90% of that movie was in one room.
Yeah.
Probably a bit bigger than this. No, it would have been bigger than this.
No, because it was only a table.
Yeah. But 12.
And then they had a toilet.
Exactly.
But you would fit 12 people around a table.
But I mean, it was a room, not a massive room, not with many different locations within the room.
No.
Then there was a toilet.
Yeah.
And I think they cut to that twice.
Yeah.
For maybe a bit of relief. And then it was just the performances and the drama that ensued.
Mm-hmm.
So originally they were like, right, we'll all just have a vote.
It's also points to say it's based in New York?
I think it was New York.
L train?
But see, that I thought it was the L train that we went on, but it wasn't. Because they called it, L was short, it was EL. It was like an elementary train or something.
Yeah.
Not the L train, like... Oh, but he was going to see the Yankees, wasn't he?
I think so, yeah.
Yeah, so it would have been New York. Unless the L train has derived from that.
Where based? New York City.
Yeah.
Based in New York City, and based in New York City.
Take two.
Based in New York City, and the fella that's accused of murder is a Latino 18-year-old.
Is he Puerto Rican?
No, Latino. I don't know. It just said Latino.
Okay.
And he lives in the slums.
Yeah, he's probably in the Bronx or somewhere.
Yeah, so that also has, and it's in the 50s, so it also...
Yeah, there's racial undertones, and like that, some of them are racist, some of them are of Latino descent.
Yeah, I thought it was, for the time, like if you were to watch it now, you kind of go, okay, well, it still rings true now, like, for some of the discussions. I thought it was so clever, and so... I don't know, I just felt, I was like, this is unbelievable. For the time it was set in, I was like, this is just really, not progressive, but like, I was like, nice to see. If you get me, like, I was like, I just, that time you'd be thinking, oh, it's America, like, everyone was just really racist back then. Like, do you know what I mean?
Guilty.
Yeah.
Yeah. But no, see, like, New York especially was such a melting pot of all, because that's where everyone went.
Yeah.
Then that's where you got all your different areas, like Chinatown, Little League, and the Irish are in Hell's Kitchen.
Yeah. So it started off that they had to find him guilty as well. There had to be 12 votes for guilty, even if one person...
I didn't know that, as well.
I don't know if that's a thing still, but...
So they all had to either be guilty or they all had to be
not guilty. Yeah.
And if they couldn't come to a conclusion, there was a hung jury, which meant that the trial would have started again with a new jury. Yeah.
So, as you said, they all enter the room.
Oh yeah.
It's a scorching hot day in New York.
Yeah. Oh, they said the hottest day of the year.
Yeah.
And the fan doesn't work.
Yeah.
And you feel that mugginess and you can see the sweat and they're all sweating.
And then also adds, I suppose, to the tension when you're uncomfortable and like you're there and it's hot and you're like, ugh, can't leave. So I thought
that was interesting what you said, where the guy was like, someone, like, I thought it was like a social commentary, or how everyone will kind of find their role. Like, initially the guy was like, just assumed the role of head of the table. Yeah. And you were like, who put him in charge? Yeah. But then he was like, okay, we'll just sit in the order that we were sat in. And everyone kind of followed suit, and then there was the guy who was like, oh, you're in my seat, and just felt that, like, them hierarchies or social standing, or just the way that we will conform. Yeah. And we'll just, we'll follow along with the crowd. Or I just thought it was a really good social commentary, and it had different representations through all the different characters. But
then as well, as you find out what their personal lives are like and stuff like that, you kind of go, oh, okay, maybe, because like Dan, the fella he was juror number 1, and he kind of took the lead, but then later on you find out that he's a coach. So he's used to he's used to telling people high school coach, but he's used to telling people what to do and where to go and what their roles kind of should be.
And he knew how to manage. Yeah. And like, had to say, we're going to get a decision together.
Okay, maybe it's time we do another vote. Maybe it's time now. What do you think?
Yeah, he was like the chair.
Yeah, so really he's the coach. He was the head coach of these 11 other men.
Yeah, 11 angry men.
So when it first starts, they all vote, and one fella, they all say guilty, except for one man says not guilty. And then they all kick up a fuss, oh, why do we have to be here, and blah, 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 and they're like, it's hot, and then one fella has like tickets to the Yankees that night, and they're like, well, if you don't vote guilty, we're going to have to talk about it. And he's like, well, I feel like we should talk about it, because it's an 18-year-old is going to be executed if we all just say...
Did he say that? He said, if it was my life, I'd want a conversation to happen around it. Yeah. And like he said...
A longer conversation to happen around it.
He said, I'm not saying he's not guilty. Yeah. I'm just saying we should talk about this.
Yeah. Yeah. And as it unfolds, it gets really interesting. It's really good, and it makes... What's that? Oh, my book. And it also kind of makes you kind of go, God, like, if that was how things were decided, a lot of people could have been executed for, like... Yeah. Just because people wanted to get out, like, do you know what I mean? it's just it's scary how much power, and it just, like, they kind of talked about it as well, how much power these normal people who just happen to get the letter that time in the post to say they're on a jury have power in life or death, like.
Yeah.
You
and
know?
It was interesting the way that they broke down all the evidence.
Yeah.
And like, but the eyewitness reports as well,
Mm-hmm.
how they disqualify them,
Mm-hmm.
and how, well, if he said that and she's saying this, well then them two things couldn't happen. And then when he trips your man up, he's like, he's an old man, he doesn't know what he's saying half the time. Like, well then how can his eyewitness report be the thing that sends this kid to death?
Yeah. So, like, do we talk about it in detail? Because we want to give it away.
Well, we can, like, you choose to edit it or not.
Yeah. So it starts off with, like, he's from, like, some of them are just kind of so obviously in any place, some of them are screaming and roaring and shouting, and some of them are a bit quieter, and, you know, it's, you know, you can kind of see who are the big characters, or who, like, shouts the loudest, doesn't necessarily know what they're talking about, and the quieter ones bully people into decisions and whatever.
Yeah, just because I want to go here. And or because I'm a racist and I want this kid killed.
Yeah, basically. So they kind of start off with, what was the first piece? They kind of are talking about these things, and so that's what they do then. They decide that the fella who said not guilty, he's going to listen. They go around each person,
yes,
and they say why they think he is guilty. So juror number 2, he's kind of like quiet man, and he's just like, I just think he's guilty, and doesn't really give a reason, but he's like, from what they say, I just think he's guilty. So he's very quiet man. And then the next fella is the real loud boorish man, and he was like, well, the evidence, this, that and the other, and he's loud and blah blah blah. And then the third juror, he's juror number 4, he's a real businessman, glasses, suit, real composed, real deadpan. He kind of is real factual. He's like all the facts and says this, that and the other. The next one, he says, I don't want to comment on it, I just think he's guilty. And then the next fella goes through the evidence, and then the next fella is the baseball fella, and he kind of goes through a few bits, and he's like, I think he's guilty. So then it comes to the man who voted not guilty, and he was like, well, I don't get a chance. They kind of take a while, and he goes, well, I shouldn't be speaking, is it not?
Yeah, you're trying to convince me.
And they were like, well, why do you think he's not guilty? So they kind of never got to the last few to give their point, remember? Which I thought was weird.
Did they?
No, they never really got to speak.
Because then did they do...
They started bringing in all the evidence and...
Yeah, no, I think they got through, and then he said, look, I'm not going to keep everyone here. He said, we'll do a revote, blind vote.
Yeah.
And if everyone puts in not guilty... Yes. So, the loudmouth guy, remember there's the racist guy?
Yeah.
And he starts saying, he's like, this kid is just a product of his environment. We know, we see this every day of the week, there's so many kids. And then one of the guys is like, I'm from that area, I made it out.
Yeah.
So then...
The juror who didn't want to speak about why he thought the fellow was guilty.
Yeah. Yeah, he said he grew up and he would have had a knife when he was younger, and he was part of them gangs, but he's made it out.
Yeah.
So he kind of took offence to the way that they were talking about the kid.
Yeah.
So then the fella that voted not guilty, he said, we'll do a blind vote, and if everyone says guilty, I'll change my vote. So then they do a blind vote, and one person comes out not guilty. So then they all pick on the guy
that lives in the slums.
Yeah. And they say it's him, and they're accusing him, and he's like, well, I don't have to say if it is me or not. And then the old boy speaks up.
Love him.
He goes, well, it's so hard to be the only person here saying not guilty, so I'm going to stand with him. So there's 2 people that you have to convince now, instead of just bullying one person into...
Yeah, and he goes, and obviously, like that, as he said, he was like, it takes a lot to be one person against everyone else. So it's like, so then they start going through the evidence, and they were like, how do we know about they kept going on about Switchblade. and they're like, how do you know it's, him? And they're like, well, his story about the switchblade is like, so basically the evidence we kind of hear is there's a knife. The fella was known to have a knife. His friends even testified that.
And
the knife.
And the fella that sold him the knife said it was the only one he had
seen.
It was a very
ornate
yeah.
and unusual. So that's one of the things. The woman that lived across the way saw him stab his father through the last carriage of the L train. The neighbour downstairs heard him scream, "I'm going to kill you." Heard a body hit the floor, and then when he got to his door, saw the young lad run down the stairs. Was that all the evidence?
And then he
went to said he was at the pictures that night. He couldn't have killed his father because he was at the pictures that night.
The knife fell out of his pocket.
The knife, yeah.
He said he went to the pictures, but then he couldn't remember what he saw or who was in it.
Yeah, and then when he came back to the thing, and they arrested him then.
Yeah, and pinned it on.
him. So is that all the clues? That was kind of all the evidence.
I think that was all the evidence.
Yeah. So your man was on about and so the man who originally voted not guilty is, what's his name?
Henry Fonda. Hold that thought.
Henry Fonda.
You'd be fond of him, would you?
No. He was like, well, how do we know that it wasn't another knife? But of course, like, he has a knife. The really racist guy is like, all those kids have knives, and like, it's only about time. It's easy for them to just like kill people, and it happens all the time, and blah 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 blah. So. And
the shopkeeper told about selling him that knife.
Yeah, that night, wasn't it?
Was the night before?
Or the night before. And the young lad was adamant that it must have fallen out or whatever, so they go and they ask to see the knife again.
Yeah.
So they bring it in and they're looking at it, and it's like this really ornate,
and there was no fingerprints on the knife.
Okay, no fingerprints on the knife. So they're like, he must have wiped them clean and blah 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 blah. And then he's saying, well, if he did stab him, like, maybe, like, why would he leave and come back? And they're like, well, he probably came back to collect the knife. And they're like, but like, if it was a frenzy attacker, he ran. They were like, how would he be sure to clean the knife, and da 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 da. And then your man was like,
it was the first, not the.
Yeah, so your man, he was literally like, well, how do we know that this is the only knife in existence? And they're like, well, well, the shopkeeper is adamant that. And then all of a sudden he just goes, bah! And beside the knife in the table, he stabs the exact same looking knife in the table beside it, and everyone's like, ah! It was unreal. It was so good.
He said, last night I couldn't sleep, so I went for a walk around his neighbourhood, and I went into a pawn shop and I bought this knife. And they were like, you can't do that, that's illegal. He goes, well, I broke the law, but I did it. I was able to do it.
Yeah.
There we are.
And everyone was like, dun dun dun. I didn't see it coming. It was great.
Gasps in
Spanish. It was literally so good. So then everyone's kind of looking. It's funny, I can't remember in full detail the next parts that kind of happen. I just remember the clues that they go through.
Yeah.
So I think, do they do another vote after that?
I'm not sure. But basically, one by one, they start
going through all the clues then.
No, but one by one, every clues, time they vote.
I'm talking about clues.
Sure.
The clues!
Every time they vote, it's like more and more people are voting not guilty.
Yeah. Because they're slowly going through, and obviously your man's slowly getting to them. And he's not boorish, he's not like, trying to change their mind. Like, not that he's not trying to change their minds, but like he's going very picking through the evidence, like, and being like, well, that doesn't sound quite right.
Yeah, one of the bits when they were like, the neighbour heard him say, I'm gonna kill you, and then body hits the floor. And then they're like, but how many times have you, you do that again, I'll kill you. How many people have you killed? And then later on, the guy with the temper, they rile him up. And he's like, I'm gonna kill you! And then they hold him back, and then when he calms down, they're like, did you mean that when you said that?
Yeah, it's very good. It was really
very
good.
Well done. The way it picks everything apart.
Yeah, so then they talk about the witnesses, don't they?
Yeah. So
they talk about the witnesses, and they're talking about the man.
Yeah, the neighbour downstairs
that heard. So they're saying, oh, well, we'll have to go through the thing. And they're like, well, of course, he said he heard it, and blah, 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 blah.
Oh, and when they said about his character, where he said, I looked at him, he had tear marks in his top.
The old man. Yeah. So he's the oldest of all of them. Like, I'd say by a good 20 years, probably, the juror. This was the man who first agreed not guilty.
No, I'm saying the witness.
No, but that's what I'm saying. It's the old man that notices. No one else notices.
Oh, was it the old man?
It was the old man. So, and he's like 20 years older than all these lads. So so they were kind of going, well, let's talk about the witness. And he said he heard, so basically the old man downstairs heard him shout, I'm gonna kill you, da 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 da. But they said obviously the father had thumped the head off the young lad.
Yeah.
And apparently had been beating him all the time as well. That was the original not guilty man's point was, well, if you're being thumped in the head all your life, like, you're also, and people are like, well, maybe it was just one slap too many. And they were like, but why was this the reason why was this the time he killed him? He had years of being bet the shite out of before.
Yeah.
So as you said, the old man then was like, I noticed.
Yeah, the eyewitness that said he saw him run away, he said he had like old clothes and they were torn, and they said he also had a limp that he was trying to hide. He said this is a person that has never been listened to his whole life, 75 years. So they're saying this is his chance to have people listen to him, so he wants to be involved more. So they're saying, so you're saying he lied? He goes, no, I'm not saying he lied, but I think he's convinced himself that he saw more than he did. And then, is that when they get the map of the apartment?
I also thought it was interesting that when he said this, they were like, well, why would he want to get interest, and like, why would someone, and like, it's funny because that man is older and they're doing exactly what he's saying. Like, that man obviously is of an age where he can understand what it's like to be that, because the younger generation aren't listening to the older people, and like, say one or two of them are like basically saying shut up or whatever to the older man, and then there's another fella there that's like, you should be respecting your elders. Do you know, as well? So it's kind of like,
that's the politics are going on in that room as well.
So that is when they get the map, because the old man said he had a limp. So then,
but he said he heard the body hit the floor.
Yeah.
And within 15 seconds he got to his door.
He ran.
Yeah, he got as quick as he could
to the door, his front door.
And he saw the kid running away.
So then the fella, what's his name? Henry Fonda.
Peter Fonda?
Henry
was it? Peter's his son then.
Yeah, I think so.
I can't remember.
Yeah,
He's a writer.
Anyway, yeah. He goes, oh, so they decide, can we get the second bit of evidence? So it's the map of the apartment where the murder took place, but obviously the apartment underneath would be the exact same layout. So they...
And they have the dimensions of it.
Yeah,
so he
and your man's an architect.
Oh, okay. So they pace it out from the bed to the bedroom door, and then into the hallway, down to the front door.
Yeah.
And then he said there was a bolt on the door as well. So they paced it out, I think it was like 15 feet to the front door, to the bedroom door, and then 43 feet.
Yeah.
And like he paces out the whole way in the room.
And then it's funny because... what was I going to say there? So someone's like, he ran to the door. No, he didn't say he ran. He said he went to the door. And he goes, yeah, but like he said he got as quick as he could to the door. So then they're like, almost in 15 seconds. And they're like, yeah, but what difference does it make?
15 seconds.
Yeah, and they're like, but what difference does it make? He's an old man, blah, blah, blah. So then...
He doesn't know what he's saying.
But that was after the steps, wasn't it?
Oh, okay, yeah.
So then your man's like, time me. So then they decide to time it, and he makes it out. So then he walks, and he's walking with a limp. But then they're like, walk faster. And he goes, okay. So he walks as fast as he can with a limp.
Yeah.
And...
was it like 45 seconds?
Yeah.
It takes him to...
Yeah.
So he's saying, if everyone else's evidence had been true, the kid would have been gone.
Yeah.
So then it's any kid just running down the road.
Yeah.
In a neighbourhood, the kids are probably running away from someone.
Yeah, absolutely. So then that's when your man kicks off, well, like maybe he just got his times mixed up. He's an old man, how can you believe anything that he says? And then everyone just looks and they're like,
you got me.
So then I think they do another vote,
Yeah.
Yeah, I think they do another vote, and then more like that. More people are.
Yeah, now it's like 4 against 8.
Yeah.
Still in favour of guilty.
Mhm.
And then it's the other eyewitness, the lady who saw.
I feel like that was the last piece of evidence, though.
Oh.
I don't know.
No. So they take her into. See.
Oh, it's they talk about the L train. They don't talk about the other bits.
They say she said she saw it through the L train, and they said out your window you could touch the train.
Yeah.
They said one of the guys like, I lived in an apartment similar to that was along the L train.
Mhm.
Anyone else here? Like, yeah. Said when that train goes by, you can't hear a thing.
You can't even hear it yourself think.
Yeah. So you wouldn't have your windows open.
Yeah.
Because the noise would be just deafening.
Yeah.
And they say that there's no way you could hear someone above you screaming.
Yeah.
Or a body hitting the floor. And if you could hear a scream that loud, you wouldn't be able to distinguish whose scream it was.
Yeah. So they were like, maybe the old man heard it earlier on in the night.
Yeah.
And got himself mixed up. But then the other eyewitnesses, she said, they were like, well, it was proven that you can see through the windows of the L train.
Oh, at night, if it's an empty carriage and the lights are off.
Yeah.
And is that where they got the time?
Yes, because she said
it
takes 12 seconds for the train to go through. But then in the time it would take for someone to be stabbed, scream, stabbed, body hit the floor, run downstairs, you run down, the time doesn't add up.
Yeah.
So that's why they start getting the evidence for the room.
Yeah. The layout, the plans.
Yeah.
So then it was. Whoa. Oh. What are you looking up?
I'm just looking up,
If the Yankees won that night?
no, I'm just trying to see maybe the plot, because I can remember then what way it kind of works.
That doesn't matter.
Well, that's when the death threat comes then.
Death threat. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I'll kill you.
Yeah. Oh yes. So then they talk about the defendant's alibi about being at the pictures.
Yeah.
Yeah. So.
And they say, "What did you do last night?"
Yeah. So the whole point was
dinner.
the boy said he went to the pictures at 11:30, and he returned just after 3.
Yeah, but no one in the cinema could identify him.
Yeah, and he couldn't remember what films were there. So this was back when like they'd show a feature film and then like other smaller
There was a double
films
feature, was it?
or something like that.
Yeah, they used to do because a B film and then
Yeah.
a blockbuster.
Yeah. So then
Double feature.
he couldn't remember what double feature it was, but then he also couldn't remember the stars of the films either. Now my whole point in it, I was like, well, if he's Latino, maybe they're American actors and he didn't know who they were. So that was in my head the whole time.
But then they said when the case came up, he remembered.
Yes.
And then they were like, well, obviously
he had 3 months.
Yeah, to be coached.
Yeah, but the juror who originally said not guilty, he was like, well, if he hadn't stabbed his father and he went to the pictures and he goes home, he said they were questioning him in the room where his father's dead body is lying. He was under huge emotional stress.
And they said they threw him down a flight of stairs as well.
Yeah, so they were like, how would you be able to remember anything when you're like, you know, and you're being accused of the murder also.
Yeah.
So
I don't know. That's what you...
Yeah, so...
And as well, when they're like, anything you say now maybe use the evidence in court against you in the future. But
yeah, so they're hounding in on this pact, especially the fella, and bear in mind, they're all sweating. Remember, they're all sweating.
Yeah.
And the one man, the real businessy sort of man, hasn't sweated at all, and he's in a suit, and he was like, nope, never sweat, and he's real like.
Was he a stockbroker?
He was a stockbroker, yeah. So then he was like, the original fella not guilty. He was like, well, what did you do last night? And he was telling him what he did last night. He goes, what did you do the night before? And he was like, oh, well, I
that was Thursday, and on Thursday.
Yeah. And he goes, what did you do the night before? That was Wednesday, and I did this, and I did that. What did you do the night before? Oh, Tuesday.
I stayed late in work.
Blah, 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 blah. And he was like, well, what did you do the night before? And he goes, well, that was Monday night. I
went to the cinema.
I went to the pictures with my wife. And he goes, what was the feature?
And then he was like,
the
feature was...
He said whatever it was. He was fat right about that. And he goes, what was the second feature?
Was it the second one?
The second feature. He was like, oh, it's, give me a second. The amazing, or the magnificent Mrs...
Yeah.
Like Lowry or something, say. And then...
Someone else pipes in, no, I've seen that movie, it's The Wonderful.
Yeah.
He's like, oh yeah, that was it.
Yeah, and then who was the stars? And he's like, he's like, see?
Yeah.
And then he starts...
Yeah, he starts sweating, he goes...
Beat a sweat.
No, you were not under duress when you were asked that.
Mm-hmm.
So imagine if you were.
Yeah. So then after that, I think a few more people vote not guilty.
And then they go through... What's her names? The eyewitness.
No, then they talk about the stab wound on the father. Yeah. So the stab wound was in a downward motion into the chest. The son was about 5.
He was 5'7",
and the father was 6'2". Yeah. So they're like, well, of course. They were like, and they're holding the blade. So they were saying, of course he stabbed him. Bah! And he pulls out the knife.
Yeah.
And he's like, look at this knife. And then they're like, that's not the evidence knife. That's his knife. So he...
they got mixed up.
Yeah, he got... Because it was brought back. The first evidence piece was brought back. So then they're going around and they're trying to deal with the stab wound. And they're like, well, of course he stabbed him that way. He goes, that makes so much sense.
Yeah, if you're this height, you're going to stab like that.
Yeah.
And then the other guy from his neighbourhood
was
like, I used to carry a knife about me. He goes, with a blade like that...
A switchblade.
A switchblade. When you press it, it flicks up. He said, so you're always going to stab that way. He said, you wouldn't do that.
Yeah. So that's the point.
Well, unless... Like, would the attacker have to be like 6'5" or something?
You'd have to be a lot taller, you had to be, but you wouldn't stab down anyway with a switchblade.
But you've got stabbed out.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Yeah, you won't pick up a knife like that.
But if that... well, they're...
Unless you grab it.
No, they just have to get rid of reasonable doubt.
Yeah.
They're not
looking at the facts.
Yeah.
So your man was like, well, yeah, switchblade, you wouldn't stab. And they're like, but maybe he just stabbed up or stabbed down. Like, maybe he did turn it around or blah. But it had been said that the young fella was very capable with a switchblade.
Oh, yeah, so he wouldn't.
Yeah, so he wouldn't have. And your man was like, no, there's no reason why you would do that because it flicks out.
Yeah.
So you'd be,
Yeah, you'd be wasting time. He said that the amount of time it would take you to switch your hand like that.
And then the baseball guy changes his to not guilty because he's just like, we need to get this over and done with. And remember,
and then they're like, well, you can't just change your mind to go with the status quo just because you want to go, because you've got tickets burning a hole in your pocket. He said, you have to explain to us why you're changing your vote. I don't have to explain anything. Wasn't it?
Yeah. And then after that, so there's 3 guilty votes left after that. And then after that, juror 10 goes on the bigoted rant, remember? I thought that was really...
Remind me?
I thought that was a really, what's the word?
Well observed.
Really strong reaction. So like, juror 10 goes on a bigoted rant. He's like, they're all the same. They all have their own, they're used to killing and it doesn't matter if someone kills someone in those places all the time and blah. And then one by one, everyone gets up from the table and just turns around and turns their back. And he's just ranting and ranting. Everyone keeps like turning. I think except for the people that voted guilty are still sat at the table.
And then there's one chain.
Huh?
Does one get up and change, then turn his back on him?
Yeah, they all get up and change. And it's just, and he slowly, as more people, he's like, what's going on here? And as more people are not listening, not giving him the response that he wants. It's just very powerful, I thought.
Yeah.
Like, that's basically what you should do, just not engage and just like...
Yeah, silence.
I just thought, for that time as well, I just thought that was just so powerful. I was like, wow, it's really, really good. So he slowly turns around, and then he's forbade from speaking anymore.
Oh. Yes.
So he sits in the corner then, and basically is told to shut up for the rest of...
And is that the fellow with the son?
That tells him from...
He's on about he disciplined his son. Oh, he said he saw his son cowering away from a fight when he was a child, so then he trained him to...
Be a man.
To be a man.
Yeah.
He said, he said because he could see... Yes, so that would have been about the knife.
Yeah.
He was saying he taught his son to use his fist.
Yeah.
He said he became a big boy. He said once when he was 16 we had a disagreement, and I think he ended up... He said I haven't talked to him in 2 years.
Yeah, so then you kind of... I'm like, that's why I found him... When I heard that, I was like, oh, that must be why he's quite brutish about this whole thing, because he's a father who hasn't obviously talked to his son, so then this is striking a chord about a son stabbing his father. And like that, obviously you're meant to be like, you're not meant to you're meant to be partial, you're not like meant to have all these things come into it. So then...
Dispel the evidence of...
So Juror 4 is the one with the glasses, the broker.
Yeah.
So it's like when Juror 4's presses White still maintains a guilty vote, he declares that the woman who saw the killing from across the street stands as solid evidence. And then Juror 12 reverts to a guilty vote again. Remember, he changed.
Yeah.
The guy with the glasses, he flipping flopping.
The advertiser.
Yeah. So then...
Do it without it.
Yeah, they're getting... Yeah, so then they're there. I just wanted to see what I can't remember which way it all went. So then Juror 4 is like, well, that's solid evidence. And then number 3, who's the brutish kind of one, he's like, yeah, of course it's solid evidence. The woman saw him. Da 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 da. So then it's still hot. Well, the rain starts and whatever. So juror number 4, the broker, takes his glasses off. And like I do, when you're getting tired, you start doing this. And, you know, he's like doing this.
Is it the old man?
Yeah, and then the old man cops. So he's there and he takes off his glasses and he's rubbing here and he's like, oh, and they're talking. And the old man kind of goes to him, is there something wrong with you? Why are you rubbing your eyes like that? Keep going. I feel like I'm talking so much.
And he says he notices he has 2 like indentations from wearing his glasses.
Which you do get when you wear glasses.
He said
with the little
he noticed that the eyewitness that saw through the train had a similar indentations, and said she'd been in bed and was restless for an hour, she couldn't sleep. So he said, would you ever sleep with your glasses on? He's like, no, nobody with glasses sleeps with their glasses on. He said, so this woman that needs glasses saw through an L train
into the next building
while she's restless in the middle of the night. So that basically just
dispels.
Yeah, disregarded her
evidence. Yeah.
So I think, was everyone then against? Everyone except for one.
Except for, yeah.
And then I was surprised at the way he changed his mind. Because did he throw his wallet on the table and the picture of him?
He was trying to get the evidence, because then he was the only one against 11. So it flipped then.
Yeah.
Everyone was not guilty and he was the only guilty one. So they were like, let's hear all the evidence. Let's hear what you have to say. You try and convince us then. So he's like, I've got my book, and he pulls it out and he starts and he throws it, and then the picture of his son falls out.
Yeah, and he tears up.
Yeah, I think that was... Oh yeah, he does tear it up, yeah.
Tears up the picture of his son.
Yeah.
And then he says, not guilty.
Yeah.
So they went into the room as jurors.
And they came out
as friends.
They didn't.
We are the Breakfast Club. Don't you?
It doesn't end with that song.
Forget about me. But, before the song was written in 1957.
Yeah. Amazing film. I actually think it's probably one of my favourite films I've ever seen.
Wow.
Yeah.
Of all genres.
Yeah. I really enjoyed it.
Who would have thought Aaron Singleton?
I hate men.
Angry Men.
I hate
But it's what you always campaign for. Or canvas for.
What?
Men talking.
Yeah, I love men talking out their feelings and dealing with trauma.
Getting over the problems.
I just think I love a real whodunit. I know it wasn't really a whodunit because there was no answer to who killed, but I just like that. I loved the dissection of the evidence.
Yes.
I loved that they all kind of went through a journey as well, and it was just I loved the dissection and how quickly it could have been very much close case, that's done. I really loved how through they all kind of went, oh, and it makes you kind of go, oh wow, like it just very easily could have been someone's life.
And as well how useless eyewitness reports are. And especially so long, like I remember hearing that before. They said unless it's immediately, eyewitness reports are useless because imagination and memory is the same muscle in the brain. And someone told me as well that every time you remember something, you're remembering the last time you remembered it.
Yeah.
So it's like a copy of a copy of a copy of a copy every time you retell the story.
Yeah.
So 3 months down the line, because there was a test done on this, and it was with people that were impressionable, and it was one of a low IQ, and they were able to convince them that they committed a murder. And it was just like a social experiment.
Yeah. Just
to see if they could, and they were able to, and they got them to admit to it, even though they weren't even there. Like they had nothing got to do with it.
Making a murderer.
What?
Making a murderer. Remember that was out during COVID?
What?
Remember your man? There's a fellow who went to prison making a murderer. Remember that was a whole series? And there was a murder done, and it was your man. They were like, they've convinced him that he did that, but we don't think he did, but I think he did.
Oh,
maybe it wasn't making a murderer.
I remember, and did Kim Kardashian getting pardoned or something?
I don't know.
Was he on death row?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think it's actually one of my favourite films I've ever seen.
All the performances were amazing.
Yeah.
Everyone was great. Everyone played their role. And to keep you interested for so long within the one location, within the one theme, I thought that was like amazing, because that could have easily dragged. Yeah, because it's 1 hour and 50 minutes. Was it nearly 2 hours? Nearly 2 hours. Yeah. In one room. And by design it was muggy and claustrophobic. Yeah. Like you felt uncomfortable in the room, and it was tense as well. Yeah. But to maintain that level of intensity, well, it's just amazing script writing. But then all the performances have to be good as well. Yeah, and then it just shows you as well that sometimes to make a good movie you don't need all the bells and whistles, you don't need another, and I think as well that would do very well as a play. Yeah. Like that, and like that, you don't need bells and whistles, you don't need loads of different sets, you don't need, you just need really good characters, a really good storyline, and just twists and... Yeah. But, and like that, so minimal. So minimal. Like, there was a murder without there being a murder. Yeah. And all the zero spent on props, 2 knives and the architect's drawn. Yeah. Yeah, amazing. That's about the height of it. Yeah, maybe the jury scene at the beginning, but that was very short. Yeah, exactly, yeah. Then a few shots on the steps. But it was like technically so easy to achieve. But yeah, it's the easiest ones that are the hardest, I guess. Yeah. But the ones that make it look easy. Yeah, exactly. Because there's a lot more, you're relying on a lot more because you don't have the bells and whistles to... Exactly, yeah. All the performances have to be on point. And yeah, they're all done so well. Yeah. Really, really enjoyed it. What would you give it out of 10? I think I'd give it a 9 out of 10. 9, I'd say 8.5. Yeah. Yeah. Thoroughly enjoyed it. Yeah, there was nothing where you're... Like you couldn't say it was missing anything. Yeah. Anything else to add?
No.
It was in black and white as well. You like black and white,
I do like black and
I
white,
like black and white.
I think it makes you kind of focus on what's happening.
Yeah.
Kind of,
Yeah, all great performances.
Yeah. Even the costumes, like I know they were all wearing clothes, but like it made it kind of, even what they were wearing, like, and stuff like that, I think sometimes you focus on, I definitely focus on it as well, because that makes you kind of look at the characters and kind of know where they might come from and what.
Like, they were developed from the shoelaces up.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like the salesman looked like a salesman, the guy who had the Yankee tickets, the stockbroker looked like a stockbroker, the guy in advertising looked like he should be in advertising.
Yeah.
Yeah, it all fit very well.
Yeah.
Even like you said, the architect looked like an architect.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it was very, very well developed.
Yeah. Really, really good.
We highly recommend.
Highly recommend, yeah, I loved it. I really loved it.
And it kept you engaged the whole way.
The whole time. Wasn't bored.
It was an intricate plot, but it wasn't...
Not hard to understand.
Exactly. And whenever they did it, you're like... Whenever they like resolved an issue or dispelled something, you're like...
Yeah.
Booyakasha.
Yeah, loved it.
Yeah, would highly recommend.
Yeah, highly recommend.
Do you want to do an outro? See, this is your hypercritical of my outros.
You're not hypercritical, you just need to not put a voice on. Thanks for watching. If you want to see more of this sort of stuff, comment below, share, like, subscribe, and yeah, let us know if you want us to watch old films, new films, any sort of film. We're open to everything. Films, plays, yeah, anything. TV shows. Louis doesn't really like TV shows, but we'll watch them for the sake of the channel. You're a lesbian. See. Thank you. Thanks for coming. Thank you. Bye. Don't get your tits out yet.